Welcome to our Nimzo-Larsen attack repertoire. This is going to be part 1 of 7, exclusive to the Palm Beach Chess Patreon. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into one of my favorite lines in the Nimzo-Larsen. Big update from our popular video in YouTube. Let's go ahead and start facing the King's Indian. So, what's very different about this is in the past, I've advocated for my Nimzo-Larsen students to just get a game, E3, D4, playing simple chess. But already right here, in the PGN files on Patreon, we have a secondary option with bishop takes f6 for a Trompowsky-type flavor, if you're into that sort of thing. But the main recommendation is easily knight c3. And you don't normally see this type of fianchetto as you get g3, bishop g2, knight f3 on the other side of the board. Everybody goes, But you do it on this side, everyone loses their minds. Because you're blocking in the bishop, the Nimzo-Larsen bishop, his eye is blocked, and that's just not going to do. Be patient. You will see. And one of the stars of the Nimzo-Larsen, Joe Baba, is going to be leading the way with this beautiful example game. And we're going to start to see a theme as I show you a few different move orders here. So bishop g7 is the main move, but let's take a detour and look at c5. And I'm going to show you some interesting lines here. c5, black's thinking long term, maybe get some kind of Grunfeld position, maybe a colors reversed English. No, knight d5 straight away right here, and we're putting pressure on that pin, not allowing any of this nonsense. Takes, and I love this next move, h4. An interesting novelty to play against that kingside pawn structure. And after h5, d4, and queen d2, knight e2, very important. We'll see this theme later. Knight takes d4, and castles queenside. Both sides have weaknesses in this very interesting middle game, and play could get to this type of deal later where we're playing for the kingside attack. It is an opposite side castling position after all, and you're getting some very, very interesting play after h5. I think this is one of those repertoires. The faster the game, the more nasty these ideas can be, and we'll see it all throughout the series. So coming back to move 3, the more natural move and the move that I've seen in practice as I've been playing this in Blitz quite a lot is bishop g7, where we follow up with d4, queen d2, and of course the immediate d6 is our straight King's Indian, but we're gonna actually c5 is gonna be the main game. So we'll go ahead and look at d6. We can castle, and we're playing for a specific plan. Like this sack mate, as Fisher would say, on the king side. We're going to get some space in the center, and then f3 is not necessarily to support the e-pawn as much as to start thinking about this idea of using the pawn levers and going after white. So a5, g4, both sides are having fun as we're just attacking each other. Takes, knight a6, our attack's almost arrived, and h5, resulting in another one of those dynamic positions with attacks for both sides. Got knight b4, grab, and after knight f4, we got that idea of getting an escape square for our king, if need be. He's pretty safe at the moment. And also the aggressive idea of queen h2. With this knight on f4 as well, it is covering this h5 square so that when our queen's on h2, when we play g5, we're going to be undermining that knight on f6, which is exactly what we're looking for to try to mate the black king. So coming back to our main game, c5 was played, and this is important. We just simply go e3. We want to maintain that pawn in the center, control key squares. After queen a5, we're right back to it. Catassels, going long. d5, and king b1. Simple, effective, holding down the house before we start beginning our attack. And here's where some major branches take place. Let's first take a look at the shortest branch, which is bishop f5. Well, one of the main reasons for king b1 is it sets up this quaint little tactic. And it's often seen more so in Sicilians, but it works here as well. Knight takes d5. Discovery on the queen. With the king on b1, there's no check when the queen captures, giving us the time to play knight takes e7, and we'll get the two for none special after rook takes, and we're threatening knight takes f5. We have an easily winning game from this type of position. So coming back, another branch. What about the natural knight c6? Well, we're going to begin with our plan. f3, which looks similar to previous variations, followed by g4 with the same attacking themes. We want to go after him on the king side. cd, ed, and there's some interesting tactical themes that can pop up from here. We got a couple of different routes depending upon how comfortable you are. Say knight takes d4, we can go queen takes or b4 here. Let's first look at b4. Takes, 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 knight e4, and we give up that exchange in order to get this very, very dynamic position, which this is one of those the better player wins type games. But the queen takes line is going to be a bit nastier, and this position is resulting as roughly equal. So after knight takes, if we take with the queen immediately, we're actually going for this dirty sacrifice, which is the engine's first choice anyway, with knight f2, and this is wild. Like, wild and creative chess. And most people think of the Nimzo-Larsen as a bit of a tame opening, but as I'm going to show you, this repertoire is designed to be nasty, aggressive, and as you can see so far, pretty straightforward with these attacking ideas going against certain typical openings. So let's get to the main event. Finally, the main line. We don't have any more branches. The key game from Sochi 2015 with Joe Baba against Gogunov. And Joe Baba definitely came away with a win. C takes d4, and after knight c6, f3, controlling those key squares and getting ready for our standard plan. Knight e8. Very thematic and controlling that f5 square, taking it away from all of black's minor pieces. And it's moving right along. Black's just now realizing that he's got to get some counterplay over here, and it's too little too late, as all we got to do is coordinate the queen with the rook on that open H file, and it's going to be devastating. So black tests things, and knight a4. We just shut it down, and this is going to cause black to have a knee-jerk reaction and have to go all out here, as white's attack is pretty clear. It's going to be very dangerous. So he's doing everything he can to get his attention on this side of the board. But it was calculated. Knight f4, very important, getting that knight out of the way so the queen can swing over to h2 at the right moment. dc, let's first take time to end any semblance of counterplay. That bishop adds an extra layer of protection, and it's a natural square for the b when attacking the king, being on that a2 to g8 diagonal. So rook d8, and with your human eyes, what do you evaluate this position? It's a good question, because at this point, the engine has white a little north of 9+, like the game's done. Which is just ridiculous to me, because I know it's bad, but it doesn't seem that bad. Let's see it completely fall apart for black. We're kicking it off with h takes g6, queen h2 with the very nasty threat. Knight takes d4. He's trying to slow things down. The intermezzo, bishop d5. And I have to say, tactically, there's plenty of ways to win here. But Joe Baba he's a man that is creative, and he's going to find these wonderful moves like this, where rook takes d5, takes. Our bishop is trying to get rid of the final defender. f6 only holds on briefly. g5 is crashing through. All you got is spite looking at c2. Takes. And after queen h7, white had enough in this game. And that's going to do it for our first part of the series covering the King's Indian. And in the next one, we're going to be taking a look at how to deal with what I consider to be the anti-Larsen attempt with move 1 a5. Yeah, we're definitely taking a look at the odd and the common.